I think this is the end of Putin politically, clearly, and possibly the end of Putin's regime. But the situation is extremely dangerous and can lead to uh, unexpected grave resolutions because Putin enjoys full control of the country and his regime and his armed forces, and if and unlike the Soviet Union, when the leaders felt essentially personally secure, he is he must be seriously insecure because he knows that he made a big mistake. He knows that he is losing whichever way it turns, even if he gets control of Ukraine, it will end badly for him, or even if he is not. So he may come to a dangerous situation. To model Putin's state of mind, you can imagine, let's say, the last days of the Nazi regime when the Allies were closing on Berlin, and they know that they cannot surrender. So it won't help. So Putin knows that if he loses power, there's no hope for him, and he may turn to desperate measures.
Yeah.
Um, he may kill himself. He may decide to drop the nuclear bomb on Kiev. He may, do crazy things where people who are cornered take in this situation, especially once they have had enjoyed tremendous power before that. So I think this is the a reason why I think the situation is extremely dangerous. The reason I feel that Putin has lost, whichever is the outcome in the Ukraine, is this: he cannot possibly control the country, Ukraine, if he occupies it. First of all, he cannot occupy it unless he uses drastic measures like leveling Kiev to the ground the way they did in Grozny during the Chechen war, or in Aleppo in Syria, and so on. So, but if he does that, it may succeed, and he will take Kiev. It won't change anything for him because his regime will be strangled by the Western combined resolve of the West. They
Yeah.
see the danger.
Alex, let me ask you this question. You think that he's finished. Do you think that that's because people in his own inner circle will deal with him, or what do you think is the reason? Where does his
Well,
end come from?
the alternative for him, once it becomes clear, well, I would say in a month or so, becomes clear to everyone in Russia that he cannot sustain the occupation of Ukraine, given that he occupies it finally. And the economy is crumbling. It's obvious that the West, collective West, led by the United States, decided that's enough is enough, and they are going to, strangle this regime no matter what. So when it becomes clear that they cannot sustain the occupation and they cannot maintain the economy, there is a remote possibility that they will somehow withdraw with Putin in place and agree to the meager existence of a failed state, essentially, because they won't be able to provide even the semblance of the standard of living that the Russians enjoyed so far. I don't
Hmm.
know whether it would lead to a popular uprising as it happened at the end of the Soviet Union, or it may lead to a coup d'etat. Because he is the only way, so to say, is to save the regime and to save the lifestyles and assets of his circle is to get rid of Putin. Mm-hmm. Because if they somehow get rid of Putin, then can maintain the sanctions will be dropped. Everything will be fine. They will keep their yachts and their villas in the south of France and their control of the Russian state, and everything will be fine. So this may be a coup d'etat. This may be Putin's desperate last moment a gesture which somebody wants to stop, like, starting a nuclear war or, or attacking, I don't know, something else. Or it may be a popular revolution, or it may be for the next 15 or 20 years until Putin dies of old age, will be totally pariah state, totally isolated, and so it will muddle through somehow.
So can Russia sustain being isolated that long?
Oh yes, Iran was able to do this. Iran, North Korea can do it. There'll be something of the same type in Russia. It will be, I don't think, unless the people revolt, there will be economic revolt. But it's all possible. But
so, do you think that his oligarch friends will essentially eliminate him? There's a chance that they would do that, because one source told me that if Putin is taken out of the picture, he is what we call the support beam. When you're building a house, you have a support beam that runs across the entire structure. There are those that say that he is that support beam for the elite in Russia, and if you remove him, the whole thing collapses. Do you think that's the way it works, or is he expendable?
I think he is expendable, at least for now, because his oligarch friends, which is more important, his national security friends in the army and in the security services, and the national security state, let's put it that way, they all feel they will all have to choose whether they want to get rid of him and preserve their dominant position, to preserve the regime, essentially, the kleptocratic, mildly repressive regime, or they want to go with him. It will not crumble on itself, but it will crumble only under the pressure of the West and humiliating military loss. Like the Soviet Union crumbled after as a result of a combined effect of the loss in Afghanistan, which was quite humiliating, and the relentless pressure of the West, particularly Ronald Reagan, who bankrupted their economy with the arms race. But if, for example, in those days, they would have, find some sort of agreement with the West and change the course, we would still have the Soviet Union up until today. So it's all flexible. There are various opportunities, but one thing is clear to everybody here and there, and even maybe in Putin's own mind, that he is the only obstacle to a more or less acceptable resolution to everybody else. If he cannot possibly surrender. He is not the type. There is no way for him to surrender and survive. It's like a suicide. Surrender is suicidal for him.